Good evening and welcome back to another Sunday Night Live. Tonight we are going to discuss crypto, the Bitcoin price, what is going on with markets, and how long do we think we'll be trading like this. We'll cover some metals and we'll talk about some stocks as well. As always, drop your questions in the chat if you have any, and we will get through as much as we can. There's a few big news stories that I want to cover, a few things on AI, because I think AI is worth paying attention to right now, and we will talk maybe about the Epstein thing, maybe not, maybe we'll ignore it. Let's see how we get on. Let's see who's all in tonight. We've already got Lewis, Lee, Shiv, CryptoCoins Elite, Scott. Yeah, let's dive in. So, as we can see, Bitcoin on the weekly looks like we're going to close another week below that 72k line. We did kind of say this in last stream, and we've been saying it in CC Pro, that we didn't expect an immediate recovery back above that line. And the reason for that is so many investors are kind of scarred by this market. So many people are now starting to believe that we're in a bear market, that we are going into a prolonged bear market of maybe 2 years. People don't think the crypto market's going to recover. And the longer we stay down here, the longer we trade at these prices, the more people that actually start to believe that. So I think it's actually like a self-fulfilling prophecy. People don't believe we're in a bear market, and then we stay down here for long enough that they eventually just convince themselves that the market's never going to recover and it's going to be 2028 before we see all-time highs again. I don't believe that. I think we see Bitcoin at all-time high this year. I've said it numerous occasions. I'll talk about why this in this stream, why I still believe that, and why I think we might actually have a bit of pain to get through first. But I think long term we're going to see all-time highs this year, and we'll see them across the crypto market, in my opinion. But right now, Bitcoin trading in that $68,000 range. I think we need to work out some chop. I think we do need to trade a bit of sideways first. I do think this isn't going to be a quick recovery. If you look, everybody always talks about the V-shaped recovery. Apart from crypto, we typically don't really have V-shaped recoveries. We declined from March. We hit a low in August 2024, and then obviously we chopped sideways before we recovered. Good to see some questions coming in. I'll get to them shortly. Let's just have a look at previous recoveries, because I think that is a key thing. If you look at some of these, don't look so extreme on the chart, because obviously the price moves were at a shallower level. But even here, from 31k down to 24k, that's a 20% move. But this took weeks to play out. Then we had this move in August 2023, back at $25,000. But we spent 2 months down in this range. Obviously, we had the bottom in November 2022. Again, we spent 2 months down at that range. So really, apart from the COVID recovery, that's the only real V-shaped recovery we've had. I suppose you could say here, but this was more... this was literally in the bull run, so I don't know if that's the same. Even the summer of 2021, we had a chop sideways consolidation period. So for me, I don't think it's necessarily going to take us 2 or 3 months to get out of here, but I also don't think people should expect Bitcoin to be 85, 90k next week. I think people just need to kind of have a bit of patience with the market. I think it will all come good this year, and we'll cover why in this stream. If we look across the market, you've got Ethereum back below that $2,000 level. We did kind of have a bit of resilience earlier this weekend. Yesterday we got back above $2,100. Market looked okay. But weekend pumps, you can never really buy them. I just think you just need to be so careful at the weekends. It's so easy to manipulate the market. Smart money can move markets really heavily, and it's just not a great time to get excited, to be fair. XRP obviously had that really nice pump earlier this weekend. Was it yesterday or today? Sorry, it got up to 167. Obviously retraced back down to 146. Strange move for XRP. To be honest, I think there's no point looking at individual coins and thinking they're sending a signal to the market. I think until Bitcoin starts to move, I actually think we're going to see the market just move together for a while. Solana, again, did the exact same pattern. So everything's kind of moving in tandem. I think total market cap, that's the one to watch. That and Bitcoin is the main thing to pay attention to. Interestingly, the DXY is back to quite a key level. If we zoom out a bit, you can see this blue line here around 96.4. We've had it marked on the chart for ages. You can see dating back to 2018, back in August 2018, it was a key level. But even if we go all the way back to 2015, you can see it's been a key level in history. So we are back there again. I do think a break below this will be bullish for risk assets, but I think we might get one more bounce, one more relief rally, maybe up into the 98, 99 level before we crash through it. If we crash through it, great, but with no FOMC in February, the next one's not until March. I think it might take a wee bit longer to work out. What we did see over the last few days is tech stocks and the S&P coming under a bit of pressure. The Dow Jones actually put in an all-time high last week, but the S&P and the Nasdaq started to fall, while the Russell actually had quite a positive week at all-time highs. We'll get into that later in the stream as well. All right, let's jump out the chat. Let's see who's in. CryptoCoins Elite is asking if Satoshi is on the Epstein list. I think everybody, pretty much everybody anywhere, is on the Epstein list. Scott's asking what's the latest on the Clarity Act. We're going to touch on that in a minute. Ewan is asking about Flame. Yes, you need to take Flame off of KuCoin ASAP. You can send it to MetaMask on the Polygon network. I would do that right now. I would do that as a matter of urgency because it does become an issue if you don't do it before they delist it. Lee's asking about the Swissborg credit card or debit card. They've not announced an actual date, but they do have the keynote next week on the 25th, so 10 days from now. So I would imagine they'll have some big updates then. I think that'll be something they update us on. They do have a few interesting products coming this year. One in particular that I think will be really attractive to people. It's not a debit card. It's not something they've spoke about before. So yeah, excited for that. I don't know if they'll drop it in the keynote or if it'll come later in the year. But it is a really nice product. I think it'll do really well. Ben, institutions have retail exactly where they want them. Yeah. Yeah, right. Scott, I'll cover your question shortly. Let's jump into, I'm just going to go to Twitter and go through basically my feed. And we'll just cover some of these stories one by one. So Kobayashi letter, key events this week. So President's Day, so US markets are closed tomorrow. That always brings its own volatility. Futures are still open tonight, but yeah, there's going to be less liquidity in the market, less trading, less things going on this week. We do have the Fed meeting minutes from the last FOMC at the end of January. So that'll be interesting to see what they were talking about in relation to the jobs market, inflation, and rate cuts. We have 10 Fed speaker events this week, and we have 15% of the S&P 500 reporting earnings. So they're saying expect volatility. I think one of the things that, not necessarily this week, but I think one thing that everybody needs to be prepared for is the stock market's going to go through some big changes this year, and it all relates to AI. I'll dive into it in 2 minutes once we've covered a few more stories. So somebody asked about the Clarity Act. Let's have a look. So this guy here, Giancarlo, he's actually the previous chair of the CFTC. And what he's comparing the Clarity Act to is the Telecommunications Act, which basically set forward all the regulation, the rules of the game, how tech companies could operate on the internet, and it created the massive dot-com bubble, but it also created the massive innovation that we've now got. Amazon, Meta, Microsoft, all these big companies have really done well because of the internet, because of the internet boom, and it was all because of the Telecommunications Act that allowed that to happen. And it also set the standard for countries around the world. So the US set the president and everybody followed. He believes, and he's obviously very in touch with markets because he used to be the head of the CFTC. He's saying the Clarity Act's going to do the exact same thing for crypto. And he believes it's going to create a massive boom for crypto. We'll talk about one of the other reasons I'm bullish on this shortly. I shared this just because I thought it was funny, to be honest. People tell me stock market's not as volatile, crypto's so volatile. Well, you know, here's a stock that was probably trading at a couple of $1 billion and is now down 99%. This is a really important thing that is going on right now. So CZ, like him or whatever, but he is a smart guy, and Chamath is super smart. In this interview, CZ highlights that one of the troubles with crypto and blockchain right now is you can see everybody's net worth. So if, for example, somebody wanted to send you a payment, if your employer started paying you in Bitcoin, or if you did a job for a crypto company and they wanted to pay you in crypto, well, once they send you a payment, you can then see all their balances, all their transactions. It's recorded on a public ledger, which has its advantages. That is a benefit. However, it is a big issue for businesses and institutions. Institutions don't want their bank balance essentially being shoved across the internet. They don't want to see how much people are being paid. They don't want to see all their transactions. So privacy is going to be a big issue in the years to come for crypto, and that takes me on to Zcash, which somebody asked me about in Top Table, which is in alpha. So let's have a look at Zcash. Let's look at the 2 week. I was looking at this earlier. If you actually look at Zcash, you can see we're down from the top. We are now down over 60%. One of the top performers over the last 6 months. I think Zcash runs again. I think Zcash goes over $1,000 a cycle. I think privacy is going to become a massive issue, especially with AI agents. So AI in the kind of partnership with crypto, if you like to call it that, is going to have a big implication for the crypto market, payments networks, but privacy is going to be a big issue. So I think Zcash down 61%, I think it's a good buy if you follow that narrative, if you're interested in it. I mean, obviously it is up 400% from its breakout back in September, but in my opinion, you can still get 4x out of this in the coming months. I think privacy is going to be a huge concern for a lot of crypto investors, a lot of institutions that are getting into crypto, and I think Zcash will be a big winner of that. Same with Monero, which is currently down, let's see, from its peak down 58%. So privacy obviously got a massive run up last year, down big right now. So if you were wanting to take part in that narrative, Monero and Zcash would be the two I would get involved with. And then this is the last story I wanted to cover. So James Van Straten, he was on the podcast for CC Pro members. They'll remember him. But basically what he shows is when Bitcoin supply and profit and Bitcoin supply and loss start to converge, that's normally when the bottom comes in for price. You can see it back here, 2022, 2023. They both started mixing together. You can see it back in 2019. Loads of periods over history where you can see the bottom for Bitcoin price, which is this kind of grey black line here, and you can see the convergence of Bitcoin supply in profit and in loss. We are just getting to that point right now, so that normally marks the lows, so we are getting close according to this metric. All right, let's talk about AI. So one of the reasons I think there is some pain in markets, stock market and potentially crypto over the next month or so is I think people are starting to wake up to the problem AI is actually going to bring for the stock market. So I've always said AI is going to bring massive efficiencies. It's going to disrupt every single job. I actually was thinking about this today. AI, there is no job, service or industry that AI will not disrupt. I'm pretty certain of that. I can't find a reason why it couldn't disrupt any job. Name a single job on the planet, AI will disrupt it in some way in the next 2 years, 100%. But I think one of the challenges is what we're moving towards, and this is why I'm bullish on crypto, bullish on energy, bullish on metals this year, is because I think what we're getting to is the point where AI can do so much now that you're not going to rely on the big software or service providers that you would in the past. So for example, Salesforce is the biggest CRM in the world. It creates leads, all your contacts, all your business leads in one place. But if you're a business now, are you going to pay the membership, or are you just going to get AI to build you a custom CRM that you can use? You're obviously going to do the second. People are running AI agents. They're running AI agents for marketing, for social media, for content, for research. They're not hiring people to do those jobs. But it also means that they're not having to pay for different subscriptions, different software access, because the AI can just do it all themselves. Now, the reason I'm telling you that is that causes a problem for the stock market. over the last few years, SaaS companies, software companies, they've absolutely dominated the tech sector. They're going to come under huge pressure because no one's going to need them going forward. That means that their price is going to fall. And I think the NASDAQ and maybe the S&P 500 could actually start to fall over the next month as people start to wake up to that. Now, the bullish side of that is people are going to move to other investment products. One is going to be hardware. So I think Tesla will do well, Nvidia will do well, and then of course small cap stocks will do well because capital will rotate, but also those will be the companies that are building out the data centers, the energy infrastructure. I think energy will do well, I think metals will do well, commodities will do well, said that before. But the other side of that is I think crypto is going to do very well off the back of this, because people are going to start to realize that AI agents are going to need to transact on blockchains. They're going to transact in crypto. They're not going to transact in fiat rails. So I think crypto and AI is going to go hand in hand, but I do think there could be some pain in the weeks to come, and I think it all comes back to AI. So I think it's something to watch out for. That's a bit of a long-winded way of saying stock market might fall, crypto will probably fall with it, crypto will recover, stock market probably won't. I think the stock market will recover long term, but not in the short term. Let's have a look at Scott's question. Would I keep dollar cost averaging? 100%. If I had capital that I wanted to deploy, like it sounds like you do, then I would be looking at my portfolio and working out, one, do I want to rotate into anything, or do I want to start buying something new? Do I have anything in mind that I want to buy that I never bought before? Now's the best time to do it. If I really like Uniswap and I don't hold any, now's the time to buy it. We're at the lowest price since December 2020. So, happy days. Aave, another one. Aave's one I've never held, but I was looking at the other day. Might be a time to buy some. The privacy meta that I just explained, don't hold Monero. Zcash, they might be some I want to buy, or AI coins or something. So if you were deploying capital right now, then yes, I would look at my portfolio, work out, do I want to buy anything else, or am I quite content with what I've got? And then how risky are the coins? And then I would just dollar cost average across them. If I had $5,000 to deploy, I would probably do $2,000 into the least risky and then work my way down. And the reason for that is because you would hope that the smart or the big market cap coins, for example Solana, will run first, and then you can rotate some profits from your Solana bag into some of the other stuff that's maybe not ran, that's maybe more risky, that's maybe smaller market cap stuff. That's the way I would play it. Something to think about, and yeah, I would definitely look at that. The other thing I would think of is Bitcoin. A lot of people missed the opportunity to buy Bitcoin cheap. I would say $68,000 Bitcoin is very, very cheap. I've said before, once Bitcoin got below 72k, it's a time to start buying Bitcoin. I think it can go lower. I think it could come down to the 58k level, which is the 200-week moving average. I think if we get there, then it's a great time to buy. But I think if you're not holding any Bitcoin and you've always wanted to, then now's a great time to start dollar cost averaging in. And the power of DCA, we've done a video on it, check it out on the channel. Dollar cost averaging is never a bad philosophy. Let's have a look. Says user Ash, has UTK been delisted from KuCoin? I think so. I think it got delisted for a lot of places because it wasn't MiCA compliant. VeChain, do I think it can get to 8 cents? Which was like the high from December 2024. Yeah, I think these highs will get taken out in the next 12 months. No bother. So yeah, 10x from here. DMTR, I don't know. I don't know where I sit with DMTR. It had a massive inflationary spike. I don't know how bullish I am on DMTR, to be honest. You used to be able to get it on KuCoin, but if you go to CoinMarketCap and just type it in, you can find out where you can buy it. Yeah, KuCoin, Gate, Mexi, Uniswap does decent volume, to be fair, but what's it down? 80%, 99 point. Yeah, it doesn't look great. Total supply, so it's still got 50% of supply locked, but then you don't know why it's locked. I suppose I need to dive into it. Let's have a look at. Usman says, what's the latest news in the market? Do you think we're still in this cycle, or do you think a new cycle has begun? I've said this every single stream for about 4 months. I don't think the 4-year cycle is a thing anymore. I think the 4-year cycle got broke. Definitely, well, it definitely did get broke. It's not even a question. It broke because the 4-year cycle was 3 green years, 1 red year, and last year we broke it by having a red year. So we only had 2 green years before we had the next red year. So the 4-year cycle, in my opinion, is broke. So no, I don't think we've begun a new cycle. I don't think cycles exist. I think now we are in periods of bullishness, periods of bearishness, and I think when we next go into the proper period of bullishness, I think we'll see all-time highs. I think we'll see the market extend beyond people's expectations, simply because we're going to see huge amounts of volume come into crypto. I think that software AI thing that I was talking about is going to cause rotation out of big cap stocks as well, because you think about if you look at Microsoft, for example, Microsoft is $2-3 trillion, but where's the upside now? Because what is Microsoft relying on? It's relying on subscriptions, payments. Well, if you've got an AI that can do everything for you, then you don't need to pay for all the Microsoft products that they offer. So I think Microsoft, Google, I think all these big stocks are going to come under a lot of pressure, and people are going to be looking for where else to allocate. I think AI agents are going to be massive for crypto. We're seeing so much stuff these days. I think, I think we'll see huge amounts of money come into crypto. I also think 2025 was a bad year for crypto. If you're an investor, you look for things that haven't had a good year when you're looking to find upside. Tech stocks, all-time high. Metals, all-time high. Where else do you find edge in the market? The one market that's not ran, that's about to get regulation, and it's about to get clarity on that, pardon the pun. That's where you would look for edge in the market. So I think, I think crypto's about to go much higher. I think you can see this as well. Strategy being very bullish, saying that they can actually survive Bitcoin going to $8,000. So I don't think that's going to happen. And then obviously Trueflation is showing below 1%. Little post from Dominion. Hopefully you all follow. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Let's have a look. Verox AI. I mean, Sleeping Giant, it looks like every other altcoin. I would need to look into it, to be honest. The chart doesn't look like... It just looks like anything else. Let's see. Looks like LimeWire. Looks like Opulus. You can't even see Opulus. Yeah, they all look the same. It's just a small market cap altcoin that, unfortunately, small market cap altcoins have been absolutely destroyed. Dot got big changes in March, I think. I think that's the second part. Oh, yeah. Do I think Uni will do well? Yeah, I think Uni will do well. I've said for ages it's one of the coins I think will do really well. It needs regulation. It needs the Clarity Act to pass. And the reason for that is because a lot of US investors can't access Uniswap until that changes. It's obviously going to struggle. So I think once the Clarity Act passes, it's going to be beneficial for decentralized exchanges. And Dot's big changes in March. Yeah, I think Polkadot will do well. Harry is asking about AI. So I actually use pretty much all of them. I use Gemini quite a bit. I use ChatGPT on my phone because I find it the easiest one to use, but it doesn't have live information. And I use Claude for big projects. I use Nano Banana. I use Grok Imagine's really good for videos, and I am working on installing Claude Bot, which will give me AI agents that I'll be able to work seamlessly. I know somebody that's already done it. He was raving about it, so I'm going to set it up this week. So yeah, I pretty much use them all. They all have different uses. So I think for me, it depends what you're using it for. But like I say, I literally can't find a job or business that won't be disrupted by AI. Probably this year, but in 2 years. There's very few. B Don is saying, where do we think we'll be in July? No, I think we'll be through the chop by then. I think we just need to get through maybe the end of February, maybe even the end of this quarter. To be honest, I just think the midterms are too big a deal. I think I've said it before, if Trump doesn't win the midterms, or if the Republicans don't hold the House in the midterms, which I'm pretty sure on Polymarket, I checked this the other day. 2 seconds. Where is it? I don't even know where it is. Let's find midterms. So right now, 14% of the Republicans hold the Senate and the House. Divided, 46%. Democrats, 37% that they hold both. So if the Democrats win either the Senate or the House, they're going to try and impeach Trump. If they try and impeach Trump, or if they hold enough seats and they actually impeach him, it's just going to be a pointless 2 years, to be honest. 27, 28, they're just going to be pointless years where it's just noise coming out of America and nothing meaningful will actually get done. I think Trump understands that. I think that's why he needs to get to the midterms in a good place for the economy. I also think the conditions are set up for them to have a good 6 to 8 months where they absolutely blow the economy out of the water. You've got inflation falling. You've got tariffs obviously starting to lower the deficit. You've got rates coming down. He's elected his Fed chair, or nominated him. You've got QE beginning. The SLR is going to get changed. If the SLR gets changed, it's going to literally unlock about $3 trillion overnight. There's loads of stuff coming this year that I think they're effectively just going to buy votes in the midterms. I also think, so not to be too political, because I don't know where everybody sits, I think Trump's not as unpopular as everybody thinks he is. I think the media is dominated by bias, and I actually don't think Trump's as hated as everybody makes out. I think it's just a lot of noise, and it reminds me of before he got elected. There was literally nobody in the UK gave Trump a chance of winning the election, and he absolutely steamrolled it. He literally won by a landslide. I think that's probably the case right now on the ground. I don't know for a fact, but I just know that these clickbaity videos are all noise, and then when you actually go and listen to somebody, they're actually a bit more balanced about what's going on. You've got Bill Maher. He's like a total lefty, total Democrat. Even he's talking about the benefits of Trump's economy. So I don't think he's as unpopular as people think. I think it's just noise. So yeah, but he needs to win. The Republicans need to win the midterms. Otherwise, it's going to be a terrible couple of years, I would say. The other thing I wanted to talk about was regulation coming out of the States. So it's been a bit slow. Clarity Act's been a bit slow. But I think when it happens, I think it's going to bring massive benefits to the market. I think we're already seeing, I saw a jobs post the other day, so I think 4 out of the 5 biggest banks in the US are all hiring for digital asset jobs. So they're all gearing up for something. They wouldn't be doing that if there was no chance this act was going to get passed, and they wouldn't be doing it if they didn't believe crypto was going to be a big industry in the coming year. So I think that's why I stay bullish on the market. All the big signs are pointing to huge money flowing into crypto, whether it be institutions, governments, or banks. They're all aligning for a big crypto revolution. So I think it's just something to pay attention to. B Don's trying to get his business up and running. Well, depending on what it is, I would be using the AI for as much as possible and saving as much costs as possible. Harry says, what happened with the whole government shutdown? Yeah, so they've already had a shutdown. So there was a shutdown 2 weeks ago. I think there's a chance of another shutdown in the next week or so. Yeah, Homeland Security is shut down right now, apparently. So, because their budget never got approved. So yeah, Homeland Security is shut down as we speak. They had a shutdown 2 weeks ago. It got resolved. They basically just need to get a grip of the budget and get one approved for the next 3 years. I don't understand why they even have these shutdowns. They should just say, we're going to spend as much as possible, because that's what they do anyway. I'm sure that isn't politically acceptable, but let's be serious. Their debt continues to increase. They continue to spend more than they bring in. So why bother even pretending to stick to a budget? It's just absolute nonsense. Actually, I wanted to. So why the coins we've not spoke about in a while. I think they've got some updates coming next week, so we'll maybe do a feature on them in CC Pro. But Xborg, again, I'm super bullish on Borg, obviously, Swissborg as well. But I think Xborg does look ridiculously cheap right now. I think they're buying back supply in the next few months as well. I think they have been, but they're continuing to do it. They continue to recycle revenue from the business into buying back the chart. So I think long term, I think I'm super bullish on Xborg. I think it's a great buying opportunity. You can buy it on Radium or on Swissborg, obviously. Not on Sexies, so that's why it doesn't get completely manipulated like every other coin. But yeah, I think Xborg is one to look at as well. But yeah, so the market continues to trade sideways. I think we've got probably another week or two before we can kind of start calling the bottom is in. Still think that 58k line looks very attractive to hit. Fill this wick as well. Will it happen over the next few days? Potentially. But I wouldn't be too excited until we're back above kind of 74 to 76k daily, maybe even a weekly close above there. That's when we can start getting excited for the market. No FOMC in February, but we do have one in March. But right now, the odds of a rate cut are pretty low. I think if inflation and everything else keeps trending the way it is, they're going to be forced to cut. That's my honest opinion. I think job losses are going to accelerate at a rapid pace into the second half of this year. And I just don't think there's any way stopping it with the pace of AI. That's all for tonight. Thank you very much for tuning in. We will be back this week. We've got a couple of podcasts coming out in CC Pro as well. I'll be back later this week. I'm going to do a Dominion video as well to update you on what is happening there. Maybe Wednesday or Thursday we'll drop that. But until then, I'll speak to you all very soon.